We're going to be doing a quick overview of this ultrasonic cutter and how it works on cutting open a fog light. We plan to just do some various tasks around the shop and maybe cut open some headlights in the future. Fog lights would definitely be a good one because they're small, thin, and they're plastic, generally speaking. This is the USW-335TI by Honda. You can see it's pretty much all in Japanese, all the important stuff, but basically just says to be careful as far as I understand. Comes in this nice little case, which is essentially kind of its home, so to say, because it has a cover. That's how it was shipped. But as far as I can tell, it's not removable out of this little carrying case. I would understand that this is probably the really expensive and important part in there. It's got a foot activated, let's say, pedal there. And here is the actual cutter itself. Doesn't really look like much. It's a black handle. It's got, those are replaceable blades, so you're going to replace them pretty much every time that you use it. Keeping that clean is extremely important, basically, as stated in the instructions. And we used to have a hobby one, the Honda Z041, and it really would get tired and overheat easily. So we're going to show you how this one works. We just got it yesterday, but it's really solid. And these aren't cheap by any means. And basically, a lot of people are asking, how does the ultrasonic cutter work? And it basically is a very, very high frequency action there going on in the blade. You can hear it a little bit. Not sure if the camera is going to pick it up. This is a pretty thin fog light housing, which is pretty common now. It's cutting through this very, very easily, as you can see. So this is no problem. We opened the newer Ford Super Duty headlights, a large headlight. It took about 15 minutes to open one up. That plastic was super thick. Now the way this works is essentially, this is the converter, this is the electrical side of this. It's connected to a standard plug I have hooked up into the wall. And this is a high frequency cable. And inside here is what's called a converter, from what I understand. And it converts that electric signal into a mechanical signal. And that's, from what the instructions say, this thing moves at 40,000 oscillations per second. So it's a very, very high frequency movement of that blade. And essentially it's kind of like creating almost like a hammer effect to that blade. So the blade is really doing the work for you. You do have to apply a little bit of pressure if you're working on a thicker headlight or a thicker piece of plastic, but you can see it kind of just slices right through it. It does get hot, so in the meantime it also does sort of melt it, so you have to be careful. And that's basically how it works. But you can see if you were cutting this with the Dremel or let's say another cutting wheel, the cut would be very, very thick. You're going to lose material, and debris gets everywhere. So if it's plastic, going on plastic, it likes to stick to it. You don't smell anything here. You don't see any debris. It's a really clean cut, and it's a really efficient way of cutting through things. The only replaceable part is really going to be the horn up front and the blade clamp and stuff like that. And the blades, of course, every time you use it. But those are inexpensive components compared to the cost of the unit itself. This unit runs for about $15.50, plus extras and shipping and stuff like that. So it is not a cheap unit. The cheaper ones run about $450 for the best, hobby version. But it's one of those things where you buy a good tool and it lasts for a long time. But that's pretty much it. We're going to get this fog light opened up, and should only take about 2 full minutes, probably at the most, to open up a fog light like this. And essentially then you kind of just store it back in the holder, and that's it. And you can see really, really nice clean cuts there on the plastic. And if you want to put this fog light back together, let's say we're going to throw a halo in here, you can plastic weld it shut in a few spots, add some Permatex, and call it a day. We've done that in the past. We've cut these open. It's no problem. You can use a Dremel. You don't need an expensive tool, but this tool comes in handy for other things. So that's basically the gist of it. It's not on right now unless that foot pedal's on, so you don't have to worry about it. But this is, once again, ultrasonic cutter. Quick explanation how I understand how it works. And if you have any questions, let us know.